All right, welcome back. Time for listening. Like I said, last but not least. So, a great thing is that people hear English almost nonstop in their lives. They're getting all of these models thrown at them all the time. Awesome. What's missing? Noticing. So, again, that language log that I mentioned with vocabulary and with reading, language log encourages your students and you to develop the practice of noticing. So, we notice that when people pronounce Fifty, they say it 50, but that's something you need to notice. Or maybe they notice that people often use a lot of contractions, and so they say won't, which doesn't sound like will not. Or maybe they notice that people often say, do you want to go there? Instead of, do you want to go there? Those kinds of things. So, sample activities for listening, again, these are very similar, almost the exact same, basically the exact same as the ones for reading. So, that language log, oh, amazing. You want them to connect to what they're listening to. Oh, yeah, I had a similar experience. You want them to predict, oh, this is what I think is going to happen next. You want them to respond, no, that was not a good plan, or yes, that was an excellent plan. Something like that. So, one enormous deal with listening. You probably did this in school or in college, or hopefully not now, but we want to encourage active listening instead of that zoning out kind of feeling. So, in order to help with that, we want to give the students something to focus on. So, maybe you're watching a TED Talk and you tell your tutoring student, okay, how does the speaker use pauses for effect? Okay, and we're going to talk about that afterwards, so make sure you're paying attention. Or maybe you give the student something to do. Okay, we're going to watch this movie scene. Here's a transcript. I want you to mark the tonal changes, so like the rising intonation for a question, in this movie transcript. But you want them to be active, driving somewhere yourself versus being a passenger. Alrighty, last chance for you to apply it in this session. Amina, understanding common restaurant questions. Valentina, understanding the children she works with. And Lucy, understanding a classmate's comments during class.
So I want us to talk about Lucy because it's a really different student profile and this is a challenging one. So you have Lucy, she's a law student and she is having trouble understanding her classmates' comments in these law lectures. How could you possibly come up with some kind of model text for her to analyze with you that is relevant to this listening goal? Tuffy.
I think I'd have her write down things that she's hearing and not understanding, and then talk about it when I see her.
Great idea. Yep. Have her do the best she can. Just, she may not understand everything, but have her at least try to write down whatever she hears her classmates saying, and then you could talk about it together. Other ideas?
I'm piggybacking off of my last small group because I did this for our moms, but it worked because we found a whole bunch of mom podcasts, but there are also law school podcasts. So if there's something written like at the college level that law school students are talking about, that she would understand that kind of vocabulary or wouldn't, and those are words that she needs help with, she could find one that has information that she needs and bring it in, and we could listen together and we could help parse it with her and figure out like where the issue is and what she needs help with.
That is a great idea. You could do so many things with that. Like with a podcast, you could have her transcribe it. You could transcribe sections of it together, actually write down what she's hearing. If you have her transcribe it for homework, if she's capable of doing that, then, that saves you time. Then when you're together, you could see where she's misunderstanding. She's thinking she's hearing something. I'm sure there would be cases where that's not what you hear, you know, and you would talk about those differences, and then discuss the topic a little bit too. So she would be using the new vocabulary in a meaningful, you know, communicative exercise. Great idea. Any other ideas of how to get instructional model texts for this goal?
Classes are recorded, so it's possible you could, if there's, as long as there's not some kind of reason why you can't listen to the class as well, maybe you could possibly get a snippet of at least the professor's questions, because sometimes you can't hear classmates because they're not mic'd, but you could at least get the professor's questions and then practice how you might respond to them.
I think that's a great idea. And by the way, classrooms are considered public places, so you are allowed to record classroom interaction without getting written consent. So if she, I mean, it's worth a try. See if she could even just record her classes and focus in on a couple of places where people are interacting, and again, transcribe it, listen to it together, and that might be really elucidating to her. Along the same lines, some classes are still on Zoom or were on Zoom. She could ask her professors if they have any recorded lectures or recorded class sessions that she could use for this purpose of analyzing together with her tutor. Okay, so what are some things? Okay, let's just skip ahead because we're almost out of time. How would you then create an activity for her to practice some of what she's learned from the noticing process?
Have her try to teach you what she was supposed to learn.
Yeah, that's always a great idea. If you can teach somebody else something, it really helps you solidify your understanding. Good idea. Any other activity ideas? I mean, again, there's always role play, you know, practice pretending. Maybe you read a little something in from her law textbook, and then you discuss it together. It's not exactly like comments in class, but ask her questions and just dialogue about something she's learning about in her class. Have her give you a summary of something that was covered in the lecture, and then interact about it, comment and question her about it. So those are a couple of ideas. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or find like a parallel kind of question to what she was originally having issues with, and see if she can kind of match a similar answer, something that's really close but not quite exactly the same, and see if she can like logic her way into what that answer should be from what she's learned.
Great idea. So she takes maybe the vocabulary or the grammatical structure, the expression, and then applies it to a little bit different topic or content. Yep. Great idea.
Wondering too, in the context of the studying law, if there would be a way to find like current events that are dealing, you know, that are like in the news that are dealing with maybe an aspect of the law that she is studying. So you could look at video of news commentators or look at newspaper articles or things like that, where it's more of a layman's you know, expression of it, but then you're gonna probably have a lot more of those casual conversation examples of people asking questions.
That's a great idea. I didn't think of that, but like I know on CNN, for example, they always bring in the legal analyst to discuss different topics, and that might be a great little chunk of interaction to analyze and discuss together. Thank you. TED Talks too. TED Talks are a great teaching tool. That's not really relevant to this case, but for lots of things that you're going to be working with students on, you can find TED Talks on different topics, and they're great language examples to work with if you have a pretty advanced student. Okay, let's let Julia wrap up her video, and then we'll wrap up together. I don't want to keep you too late.
All right, welcome back. I've got some quick conclusions for you, and then we'll wrap it up. Models. Models, 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 models. Thank you. Okay, noticing, but seriously, use a lot of models, use authentic models, all the models. Okay, now actually notice. You want people to, your students and you, to ask, when do we use this? How do we use this? Why do we use this? These are crucial. Don't skip this. And then finally, producing it. The student has to produce this target knowledge, whatever it is. Again, think back to, are you going to remember something if you never get a chance to do it yourself? Throughout this presentation, I gave you multiple opportunities to practice what I've been teaching you. So that way you are producing what I've been teaching you. So again, model, notice, produce. Thanks. Thank you for going through this session with me. I hope it was very helpful. Please let someone at Mid-State Literacy Council know if you have any questions whatsoever. And again, thank you so much for listening to my session.